This is the iPhone 12, and I've been using it for a couple of days now, and I've had enough time to come up with a kind of list of things that I love and hate about it. So imagine this as a pro or con list, a thing, a division of good and bad, however you want to put it. So let me start off talking about the things I really like about this phone, and I suspect a lot of people will. Number one, the flat display. So this display is absolutely flat, no curves, no curved glass, no curved screen, nothing like that. Plain and simple. And while this may sound kind of backwards, I prefer it way more because utility-wise, it's just absolutely better. And this is the first time since the iPhone 6 that the Apple has gone back to a completely flat display. So I am very happy about that. It just increases durability, it makes things better, and it reduces a lot of tensions. And the best thing is, you can actually use screen protectors a lot better now. So, there's a lot of things that go into it, but I really love the fact that the iPhone 12 now has a flat display. Staying on topic with the display of the phone, the bezels have considerably shrunk down now compared to the iPhone 10 and 11, the 10R and 11. And it makes a big difference. Even though there's still that massive notch, overall the phone still feels really good because the bezels are uniform throughout. That's a really good thing, and that's something that most Android phones still don't do. Their bezels are kind of lopsided, thinner here, thicker there kind of situation. This is completely uniform all the way around, and that really makes the experience a lot more seamless. And honestly, I really like the size of this bezels. It's way more noticeable when you immediately look at it than the jump from the LCD to the OLED too. Like, this is something that's very apparent and very cool to see right off the bat. And it's just, this moving on, that new design, it really helps as well. It goes back to a older format, but in a way, I really don't think it looks old. It has this really utilitarian, but really futuristic, just kind of, great design. I love the flat edges and everything. I was worried that it would be uncomfortable, but so far it hasn't been. It's been really good. And, just even though it inspires, it's taken from an older design, it feels very futuristic. Moving on, let's talk about the display. The OLED display is finally a commonplace on the iPhone now. Every iPhone from the 2020 lineup has an OLED display, and that's something that hasn't been the case for previous years. So having an OLED display, and not a watered down OLED display. This is the same one that you can find in the 12 and 12 Pro. The 12 Pro and 12 Pro Max, which is really good. Not so good for the 12 Pro and Pro Max because they're way more expensive, but for this, a lot better. And sure, it doesn't have 120 hertz refresh rate, but I still think that the smoothness of iOS really makes up for it in a lot more ways. Moving on, another thing I love about the iPhone 12 is that it has actually gotten significantly lighter than the iPhone 11. So this is 30 grams lighter than the last iPhone, and you can feel it. It just feels lighter, it's more comfortable to hold, and it's just, awesome. All around, really, really great decision to kind of lower off the weight. And thanks to the weight reduction in part actually comes from making the phone a little bit smaller, a little bit thinner, a little bit less narrow. It's just kind of the entire thing going, you make it a little bit smaller and you lose weight along the way. The overall footprint has shrunk, even though the display size stays the same, 6.1 inch from the 11 to the 12. Because the footprint has shrunk, it's just kind of made it a lot more easy to make it thinner and to make it less, how do I say it? I think the word would be bulbous, just the kind of curved designs. With the smaller size, I was worried battery life was going to take a hit, but fortunately enough, with kind of no 5G usage with Wi-Fi and 4G, the battery performance has been identical, a little bit better in fact, and really hasn't been an issue. So whenever I'm at home or I'm not using excessive amounts of 5G, battery does really good. I got consistently 8+ hours of screen on time with charge left to spare. So battery-wise, this does pretty good as long as you avoid 5G. I'll talk about that a little bit later. And iPhones, just the performance overall. A14 Bionic is something that's nothing. It's like there's nothing I can even say anymore. We all know how fantastic Apple's performance is, and they just keep pushing the envelope with their CPUs, and their optimization is so good all across the board that really performance is something you don't have to think about. So a great phone that'll last you for years, and just overall a fantastic package. Cameras, I'm really happy that all of them now support night mode. beyond that, there's not too many different camera features. It's just night mode has finally kind of come across the board, and there are improvements. So there is a little bit of an improved HDR system and all that wonderful stuff, which I'll cover in a review later down the road. So now that I've talked about all the things I like about this phone, let's move on to the things I'm not so big of a fan of and what kind of bothers me with this phone. Starting off, I think, you know, the elephant in the room with this phone was always going to be the accessories, the lack of accessories, in fact. You know, no charger brick, no headphones, you know, it's just completely gone. The only thing you get is a cable, and that's it. You're forced to buy everything on your own. I agree with you guys. You know, the outrage I think is a little bit justified, but at the same time, I understand the move, not only from a business point of view, but, you know, from an overall just kind of, people are using different types of chargers now, and it makes sense to just Apple not give you one and just you buy your own kind of situation. I wish we would have seen a reflection on the price for this, but realistically, that wasn't going to happen. I would have still preferred it, of course, to have that. You know, I was okay with the earphones going away. Like, that I didn't care about, but a charger brick, I think it should be a standard with a phone. And by far, I think the most upsetting thing about the iPhone 12s, just the 12s, is that they are being dishonest about their price. So they market it at $699, but that's not true. So right off the bat, I'll just explain. You can't get this phone for $699 unless you buy it from a carrier. If you buy it unlocked, factory unlocked, you have to pay $730. You have to pay an extra $30, and that's the only way to go. You can't get this for $699. You get it for $729 if you get it unlocked like I do. It's so scummy. I hate that they're doing this, but I can't, you know, it's just false advertising, to be honest. And the thing that also bothers me is that model to model, this has become way more expensive. So the iPhone 11, the 6.1 inch 11, and this is what I call an upgrade, right? This is the actual like upgrade, the 6.1 inch iPhone 12. This is $830 now compared to the $700 that the iPhone 11 was. So $130 price jump, and you know, you do get a new design, you do get OLED, and you get 5G, but really, I still think that people are not going to want to pay that price jump, especially when they still sell the iPhone 11 for $600 now instead of $700, so that's a $230 price jump. So I don't know. I personally think it's such a hard sell to tell someone to pay $230 more for an iPhone 12 when an iPhone 11 does, you know, so much of the same stuff. It's just that price jump is a little bit too bad. The notch, let's talk about it. The notch is way too big. I think that Apple could push in the sensors a little bit more. They could reduce it. They could do something, but they don't want to. They're okay with this. This has become their design language, and I think they don't care about it anymore. It's like their next move is probably just going to be to get rid of the notch completely. I don't think they're going to be like the transition company where it gets smaller and smaller, and then they do weird things like hole punches and cutouts. It's just like, we have it, do whatever you want. You know, it's kind of weird. I just really wish that the notch was smaller. I knew that Apple wasn't going to get rid of it, but I always had a little bit of a hope in my heart that they'd shrink the notch a little bit, you know, pull it in closer, something like what the OnePlus 6T had or the OnePlus 6 had back in the day, if you remember. You know, just push the sensors closer together. I know there's a lot for the Face ID, but still, it was just not that good. And, you know, color options this year. The color options, this blue is cool, but besides that, I'm not a fan of most of them, but, you know, I'm very upset they got rid of the purple. I think the purple was one of the best colors of the iPhone 11 lineup, and they just completely got rid of it. The iPhone 12 now comes in 5 colors, which are black, white, blue, product red, and green. So the green is similar to the iPhone 11 green, but it's a little bit even lighter. So it's like a minty green, but very light shade of mint. The red is more of a salmon pink kind of situation. The blue is blue. I mean, there's no denying that. So this is very clearly blue. And white and black are the simple, plain old white and black, which are boring. So I think overall, all of the colors besides this blue are pretty boring. And even the blue, I think, you know, I don't know, this blue isn't that exciting. The Pacific blue on the 12 Pros are way more exciting, I feel like, but this blue is, I don't know, it just didn't hit me. The color options didn't very much excite me. And this is a personal preference, so don't get too caught up with it. You know, this is a personal thing for sure. Another thing that I am upset about is that they're only giving you 4 gigs of RAM instead of the 6 that you get with the 12 Pro. 4 gigs of RAM right now, it's fine, but 1 year, 2 year down the road, you're going to start noticing with apps getting bigger and bigger by the day, and with them requiring more and more, power to stay on and to keep running in the background. Just a couple of that extra 2 gigs of RAM can make a huge difference. Android phones are already peaking 12, 16 gigs of RAM, so asking for 6 gigs of RAM on an iPhone isn't too far-fetched in my opinion. It's just Apple being Apple and kind of cutting a corner they know they can cut. Sure, this won't really affect most people and they wouldn't notice it, but someone who uses a bunch of different phones all the time, going back to a 2-year iPhone to a 2-year-old Android, the one thing that I noticed was that Androids can hold apps open so much better. Sure, they're not as fast, but they can still hold apps in memory, which is the entire job of the RAM. So the RAM definitely is something I wish was a little bit higher. And finally, this is something I've saved till the very end because it's, I want to make it clear that I understand 5G is the future, and at some point it's going to become so good that we're not ever going to have to think about it and it's going to be amazing. But for the time being, the excessive push of marketing on 5G is just so scummy. Like, I have tested 5G out multiple times and compared it to 4G LTE, and it's basically the same speeds, most of the times actually a little bit less. However, because of the 5G technology, you actually eat up way more battery. So, with usage, I've noticed if you use 5G and navigation and stuff, it will absolutely drain your battery. So, when I was using 5G and I was outside and stuff, my screen on time went from above 8.5 hours with battery left to 6 hours at almost dying. Like at 6 hours, like 1% charge left, that bad. So it takes a big hit on your battery, like 20-25% difference is made if you use 5G a lot. And really, you don't get the speeds that make it so good. And it increases the cost. Really, 5G is great, but I think that it is still a ways to go. Like, they have really hyped it up too much and it's not there. So don't even think about 5G. It's just an added perk. Like, it's not something that's don't even worry about it. Like, 5G is just something that should be there. Don't get tricked by the marketing. It's just so scummy. So overall, the iPhone 12, even though there are things I don't like about it, I think when we look at the big picture, there are way more positives for me than negatives. And the negatives, I think, are just a lot more to deal with the marketing and kind of positioning of the phone more than anything else. Sure, I would have liked a price reduction, and there are a few hardware changes I would have preferred, but Apple is Apple. We really can't do much about it. So, it's kind of what it is. Let me know what you guys think of the iPhone 12. With this being kind of the middle child of the lineup, do you think it'll get ignored or do you think it'll get a lot of love? Where do you stand on it? And if you did buy an iPhone 12, I really want to hear why you chose it over any of the other iPhones in the lineup, because that's something I'm curious about. What's the thought process of somebody who buys this? Where do you kind of sit on the scale there? Why did you choose this one over the 12 mini, or why not just pay a little bit more and get the 12 Pro? Just let me know down in the comments below. I'd love to hear what your thoughts are. And if you have any more questions, feel free to ask me down in the comments below. If you haven't already, be sure to follow me on social media. I'll have all the handles right here on the screen and of course down in the description below. And if you haven't already, be sure to follow me and subscribe to the channel for way more content on the iPhone 12. The 12 mini and 12 Pro Max are coming very soon, and I will be making a ton of videos on those. So be sure to subscribe to the channel, guys. Thank you so much for watching. I'll catch you in the next one.